we're turning to the Karen Read murder trial. So the video you're about to see, here it is. This video is front and center. That shows Karen Read backing her SUV up out of her garage and hitting John O'Keefe's vehicle in the couple's driveway. The question is, how much damage was done? We are just minutes from the start of week 8 of testimony, so here to talk about it and break it all down, as usual, is local attorney Peter Elikann. Peter, good morning.
Good morning. We're becoming not just friends, but old friends.
We are.
Becoming like a way of life.
At this point, Peter, I'm expecting you at my next family dinner. So listen, we've all seen this video to this point, right? What is the central question, though, that they'll be looking at today surrounding that clip? Because we've seen it over and over again. Her car hits his car. Why are we still talking about it?
Well, this really does raise the reasonable doubt question. Like, how did that rear tail light get damaged? Now, it's inarguable. We know for a fact she definitely did hit his car.
Right.
And the prosecution, of course, is going to be saying, well, she hit his car, but, we don't see any damage on the car, and we don't see any debris, whenever they came and looked for it, whenever that was, that much later on. And the defense, of course, is going to say this raises reasonable doubt. If so much of your case is based on damage to the rear right tail light, and you're saying it happened later on that morning you say the night before, then again, in the jury, let's see if we can nail down the facts here, because the jury, again, if they're not sure, then it brings reasonable doubt. If they walk away saying, gee, I don't know, but it definitely hit this car, and then it hit, could it have hit the victim here, earlier? And if it raises reasonable doubt, then that really helps the defense. But let's see what they do, and let's see what the defense is ultimately going to say. Is it possible that you could hit your tail light and not damage the other car? I mean, we know the tail light, that piece of plastic, is very vulnerable. I know I have been. Last time I was in a car accident a while ago, there was no damage to my car. There was damage to the other car. And so that's possible. So we're kind of, let's just see how this thing plays out, because they're both going to have arguments. But ultimately, there is an argument to be made either way when that taillight was damaged.
Okay, exactly. I love that you talk about that, because also we heard a lot about that last week as the testimony got really, a lot of dense and technical information came into this case. We're about to start week 8. What do you think of the timing of waiting to introduce all of that until now, until so late?
Well, I hate to second guess a prosecutor or any lawyer, because there may be a method to the madness. They may have had this, strategy and plot laid out. However, as probably every, lawyer that I've spoken to about this and prosecutor, this certainly goes against the conventional wisdom. Normally, you start with your strongest stuff at the beginning, cause of death, which we haven't even heard yet. And we're entering week 8, and then you bring your lead investigator on earlier, and you bring your strong stuff, and then you come back and kind of refine it with the other stuff. Here, a lot of people were questioning the strategy. They were saying week after week after week is going by. We don't have any major questions answered. The weakest part of the prosecution, it seems to be coming on first, if there is going to be a stronger part. So it certainly is against the way things are usually done here. But for some reason, I guess they wanted to go with the strongest stuff at the very, very end.
You certainly understand why they didn't want to start with their lead investigator, that being Michael Proctor, after what we saw when he took the stand. Yeah. Let's talk about the jurors for just a moment. There was a lot of drama as far as the jury is concerned. We began with 19 jurors, but at this point, we've only got 15 left, because we lost 2 before the trial even started. We lost 2 more last week. That means it leaves us with 3 alternates and still more than a month to go. Are you concerned about running out of jurors here potentially?
I'm saying it's probably enough. I'm not overly concerned, but gee, wouldn't that be? It's like an unthinkable horror for all of us to think about. Though the fact that if they were to lose 4 more jurors, they would have to declare a mistrial, and then the prosecution can say, "Okay, we'll pick a future date and we'll start all over again. We'll start this from scratch from the very beginning." That is just kind of a nightmarish scenario. They certainly did start out with a number of extra, jurors, alternate jurors, just in case. But this case has gone on a bit longer than possible. I still think if the horror would happen, if we lose 4 jurors, I think in all likelihood we'll probably hold tight. But you never know. Anything can happen. Somebody can get ill, or they can have a child who's very ill, or there's all kinds of reasons why you alternate jurors. So we would all be second guessing. Gee, should we have even had more? Because we do not want to do an absolute do-over from the beginning of this trial.
Exactly. Okay, and last question. We're out of time here, but very quickly, I asked you last week. I kind of want to get a gauge this week. How do you think we're doing on the timeline? How much longer do you see this lasting?
I don't know. I see the prosecution wrapping up sometime this week, and then the defense is going to be much more succinct and speedy, and I could see them doing no more than like 2 weeks.
Okay. Peter Elikann, I'll see you at my daughter's christening, my friend. You're right. We are getting close. You can watch today's testimony right here on NECN, on our website, on our YouTube page. We've also got a recap of what happens in court every day on Canton Confidential. Dive into the details each weeknight at 7 o'clock. More news after the break.